Welcome to the Motorsport Files. This is the first of our Women in Motorsport features, which we hope will inspire some of you to get involved. Our first show actually involves one of our brand new presenters, which we've been waiting to introduce to you. Obviously, you already know myself and Gary, but we've also got a very special third presenter, which we'd like to introduce you to today. She has been around most of her life. She's been involved actively in motorsport, and you may very well have seen her on ITV4. Please welcome to the show, Ashley Gregory. Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Hello, Drew. Nice to see you. And hello, everyone. It's great to be on the show and presenting.
Can't wait to get started, really, and see what we can make of this. It's brilliant. But first, before we get into any of that, I want to find out about your story, if that's okay. We know you from the TOCA package from the BTCC weekends. You currently compete in the minis, at least up until last year. But your journey started a lot longer ago. Do you want to start and tell us where it all began?
Yeah, so my journey it goes back quite a long way. So I was actually the first race driver in our family. So there's never been anyone before that, granddads, parents, anything like that. I was the first one to jump into it. And it was simply just because on a Sunday afternoon, we used to go and watch stock car racing, banger racing at Wharton Stock Car Club. It was just something to do, like a bit of an afternoon out. It was cheap to get in. I think it was the kids went free, dad and mum paid, and my friend and I went and her little dog, and we used to just go and watch it. We used to sit on the bottom corner with our little, like you've got your headset on with our little earmuffs on. 7-year-old me sat there, and we used to just watch the cars go around. And I love watching it, but I had zero interest in doing it, simply because obviously no one had done it in the family. There was no sort of history of it. And then it got to, I think it was 2014, and we were still going watching it every other Sunday. And I saw a pink junior mini stocks going round. Okay. And I turned around to my dad and said, "Can girls do this?" And that is God's honest truth. I literally asked my dad if girls could do it. And he was like, "Well, yeah, of course they can. Why would you ask that?" And I was like, "Well, it's all boys that go around like on the pace car. I've never seen a girl." And he was like, "Well, yeah, of course you can do it." So obviously that sort of sparked an interest. And then from then on, it was like every other Sunday, I was like, "Can we go watch? Can we go watch? Can we go watch?" And we kept watching and watching. And as soon as I turned 10, there was a car that was for sale. It was one of the old spec mini stocks. And I said to my dad, "That car's for sale, Dad. It's only £750. Can we have it?" So obviously me being me sort of got him along to have a look at it. And we was looking around, and the guys who were selling it were like, "You all right?" And Dad was like, "Yeah, we're just having a look." And I was like, "I want this car. Dad, can we have this car?" So I think I tested him that much that he didn't really have a choice but to say, "All right, we'll buy it." So we bought this car there and then. They were still racing it, so we agreed that we'd pick it up in sort of a few weeks' time. And when we picked it up from a service station halfway up the M6.
Standard.
So we met them there with a trailer, unloaded this mini stocks on the service station, drove it onto the trailer, and that was it. That was the start of my career. So we got the car. I then went up to my grandma and granddad's field, started driving around there, trying not to hit sheep and learning how to drive. So I had my dad sat there. Obviously, mini stocks, you've only got one seat. So my dad was sat on the floor teaching me how to drive. And you only need first, second, reverse. So I've got the hang of that. Didn't hit any sheep. And then it came to be the first event, which was, I think it was May time by the time we was ready to go. And I'd never drove a car onto a trailer. So the trailer was sort of at an angle like that.
Okay.
So like the clutch control you needed for it. So I only knew how to set off and stop.
Yeah.
And Dad was like, "Well, if you can't get it on, you're not going." And I reckon it probably took me 3 hours, and it was a proper shouting match. I was like, "Can you not just do it? Like, I can drive. I just can't do this." And he was like, "Nope, until you can get it on the trailer, we're not going."
Fair enough.
So that was literally how I was taught clutch control.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, got it loaded up, and we went, did the first event. Started at the back, there's a YouTube video actually, and it was literally just I drove around so slow. And I remember the first time, I shouldn't even remember this, I sat there on the start line thinking, it's yellow flags, why is everyone going so fast? But in fact, it was just me going so slow. So it was quite a slow start. And then the second meeting that I did, I barrel rolled the car 3 times down the track.
Wow.
And I remember just getting out of the car, looking over at my dad, and I went, Dad, it won't start. And the only problem that there was, so I could see my mum on the fence, literally like trying to climb up and over the fence. And the only problem was the isolator switch had come out.
Oh, no.
So anyway, we got it all sorted, fixed it all up, and away we went again. And that's sort of how I got into motorsport. So then going forward from there, we did 6 years then of mini stocks, won the overall championship 3 times. So that was 2017, 2018, 2019, overall champion. We won the Silver Roof Championship twice in a row. We won every Memorial Shield that you could win. We were the fastest lap holder. I think we still are just to this day. We was pretty much unbeatable, which sort of sparked an interest to look up maybe where we could possibly take it.
Just before we carry on, did the roll not even put you off for a slightest moment?
No.
Not even a little bit?
Probably now. I think now I'm older and sort of have a little bit more whereabouts of, like, this might hurt. It probably would, but 10-year-old me was just like, I want to go again. Like, it just didn't even bother me.
True motorsport DNA then.
Yeah. Honestly, that car went through walls. It was, I did a lot of damage to that car, but I think it was a great car to learn in. We didn't give a lot of money for it, and yeah.
What do you reckon that car actually taught you in terms of driving?
I think it taught me a lot of resilience and just to be patient, really, because I was only 10 and I was racing against people up to like age 16 who also had a hell of a lot more experience than me. It's full contact. So like you're coming into a corner, you're being pushed. So you've got to learn so much car control. You've got to learn resilience because you're going to get taken out. You're going to hit the wall. It's going to hurt. So I think learning that from such an early stage in my career has just been like crucial.
That's amazing. I think most 10-year-olds would think, no, I'm done at this point. So for you to have, it's not maturity, is it? It's that's something special inside you that goes, no, I still want to go.
Yeah.
Let me go again, let me go again, let me go again. That's, I think, inherent in every single person that participates in motorsport, in whatever discipline it is. It's that, no, I want to go again. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. I can do better. I can do better. And that isn't in everybody, and it's not for everybody either. And as a 10-year-old in a 16-year-old, mid-teens world, you must have had so much determination to push through even the most severe of adversities, because it's not easy, is it, being in motorsport?
No, not at all.
That's quite amazing to hear that somebody of such a young age can push themselves. Because by the sounds of it, it was you doing all the pushing. It wasn't like the classic story of push your parents. This all comes from you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was all from me. I mean, there was sort of times where the first year was tough, don't get me wrong, because of the amount of little offs and crashes that I had. There was times where I was like, I can't do it, Dad. Like, this isn't for me. And every time he just said to me, just go back out. And if you don't like it, pull off. It's fine. Like, there was no sort of, you are getting in that car, you are going. Yeah. It was more, get in the car and, if you do a lap and you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. It was in that way of pushing me to not sort of imminently give up, but give me an exit clause. If I didn't feel comfortable or didn't want to do it, then that's, it's absolutely fine.
Which is a perfect environment to grow in, I suppose.
Yeah.
So how quickly did you start progressing from the early days of, like you say, driving around really slowly to making a bit of a difference that you yourself noticed?
I think it was sort of 2 years of learning. And then we bought a new car. Well, not a new car, but a second-hand car that was a lot higher spec. And Dad and I just rebuilt it all together, and we built it to suit me and how I wanted the car. And It was the first car that we actually got corner weighted properly and things like that, rather than just sort of whatever tire pressure we felt like. Like, it was all properly set up and we did it. And then it was a case of, we then started to learn how I drove, how I wanted the car to be set up. And that 2 year mark then, year 3 was just sort of getting the car to be tip top. And then after that, we was literally unbeatable.
Wow. So as a driver, how do you go from being a complete novice to learning how you drive? What's that process actually look like for someone?
I think it's a difficult thing to process and understand in your head. But you just you begin to learn, like you go out one day and it'd be really dry, and the next meeting it could be really wet. And then you start to understand of how the car performs differently and how you feel with it. So I could then come back and say, it felt like it was doing this then, Dad. Like I just couldn't turn. It just wouldn't turn, or whatever the situation was. And then it was just them little bits of feedback. And then we just sort of slowly started to be able to, adapt it to the point where I could literally say, it needs to be 1 click softer, Dad, or it needs to be 1 click harder. And I think it's that key bit of wet and dry and then learning the differences.
So that's on the technical side though, isn't it? I mean, I've heard so many stories of different drivers driving in different ways. So some people basically prefer an understeering car into a fast corner, whereas other people would prefer a slightly oversteery car. That's just one example of different driving styles.
Mm-hmm.
How did you discover your driving style? Is it just inherent and it just comes out, or
just experimenting? To be honest, we literally went like one extreme to the other with the setup, and then just sort of found a happy medium that I liked.
Yeah.
And we tried aggressive setups, we tried really calm setups, we tried safe setups, we tried making it so that it would be really hard to control it, just to sort of find what I actually liked out of the car and what I actually wanted it to do. So yeah, I think the key thing for us was literally just one extreme to the other, and then, okay, let's meet in the middle then and find something that works.
Do you think that modern day sims play a vital role in driver or car development these days?
There's pros and cons to them. There's definitely pros and cons. I think it's good to just sort of keep sharp and, learn tracks. So back sort of 2 years ago, I did a lot of testing out in Europe. Obviously, I've never really driven many circuits out there. So the sim was a crucial piece of kit that I went on just to simply learn the track. Nothing else, but just to understand where I was going, because it's great to watch videos, but it's easier if you can understand it yourself and learn how, how it's going to feel approaching the corner. So in that respect, I think it's great. And then you can also you can set the track up differently now. So you can have it wet, dry, high grip, low grip, wind, like you can change anything. And you can also have a data log, so you can have a second screen with all your data lines, and it shows you like basically what it's full like data analysis really. So you can see what you're doing different each lap and why you might have been a tenth quicker here or a tenth quicker there. I think the key thing for me using the sim more has been that you can see the delta. So if I make a mistake, I know I can see it then of what impact that's had. Whereas in sort of on track, it's kind of heat of the moment. You don't really understand what you're losing. And in a race scenario as well, you're not really looking at delta because you're not chasing lap time. You're chasing positions. So if you can understand in your head that making that silly mistake there or going too deep into the corner here, it just cost me half a second. Well, it might be half a second that I needed to catch the leader.
Yeah. Could you just explain for somebody who might not be aware what a delta actually is?
Yeah, so a delta is basically, so you got a whole second, and typically in racing, you're probably looking for like a tenth of a second, which you can't stop on a stopwatch. It's impossible. So your delta would basically be like, if it's plus or in the red, it basically means that you're going slower. And if it's minus and in the green, it basically means you're going faster. So it could be like minus 0.276, which means you're basically minus, you're up 0.2 on your lap, on your best lap. And if it's plus 2.76, it basically means you're going to, you're 0.2 slower on that lap.
Yeah, we're talking about obviously tenths of seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but on track that actually translates into quite a big distance.
Yeah, I mean, so in the Mini Challenge Championship that I've raced in now for the last 3 years, around Brands Hatch, the difference between P1 and like P25 is half a second.
Which is insane.
It's like, so you are literally looking for them fine margins, and I'm talking like a thousandth of a second. It's got to be so fine-tuned because, like I say, one little tiny mistake and you drop 0.2, it doesn't seem a lot, but that automatically puts you in P15. You don't want to be P15, you want to be P1, P2.
Yeah.
It's where every driver wants to be.
And it's the only way to get there. And possibly something that people might not also realize is you have to do this lap on lap on lap all the way through the race. It's consistency as much as pinpoint accuracy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very unique challenge to try and master. And obviously one that most people obviously can't do. So you've been around and you've spent a few years doing the mini stock challenge. But we get to 2019 and you move on to the Junior Saloon Car Championship.
Yeah. So that was instigated by, my dad owns a haulage company and it was instigated by one of his drivers. So we didn't actually know what the next step could be and how to progress from there, because all we knew was ovals. We never even knew of circuit racing. And he raced in a championship called the Clubman's, which is basically like an open wheel championship. And he was good mates with David Beatcroft, who runs a Junior Saloon Car Championship. And he just happened to mention that they ran a scholarship and that we should consider entering it and just, see how we get on, see how I felt with it. So we entered the scholarship. Never driven the track before. I'd never gone up and down. All I'd ever done in ovals was race around in second gear. That was all you used. So I'd never sort of had the experience of going up and down through gears. I'd never really been put through my paces in terms of fitness. I'd done one interview. So I hadn't really done much in comparison to maybe what someone who'd come from karting would have done. And we came runner-up. So it was like,
wow.
I think Dad was a little bit like, oh dear. So obviously we then bought a car, but I think we had something stupid like 3 weeks to get my ARDS test, a car, and everything sorted, which we did. And yeah, we went to round one, which was Alton Park. We got there 10 minutes before FP1, unloaded, and literally just went straight out on track. So that was the sort of start of JSCC. And then, yeah, year one was just a pure learning year because we didn't have the budget to go with the team. It was just pure privateer. Didn't have the budget to have a coach. I wasn't really looking at too much footage. I literally remember the first time I went to Snetterton, I hadn't even learnt the track. I learnt it going around in free practice, which is something I would never, ever do now. And I would definitely not. So if you're watching this, please do not do that. But it sort of just shows the developments that I've taken. And how much of a shoestring budget it really was, because I just didn't have the time or a coach to come and do that kind of stuff. So year one was just a pure learning year. We had a big crash at Snetterton, which was not our fault on the start line, pretty much totaled the car. We managed to get it back out, but obviously it wasn't a patch on what it was, that we then had to rebuild it with the limited funds that we had, and Dad's pocket also had to put quite a lot into that. But, we did the first season and then went into the second year with a rebuilt car. And we had a couple of decent results. We had Mallory Park. We then started P2. We finished on the podium every race there. A couple of top fives. And then year three, we built a brand new car over the winter. So just Dad and I in the garage, which was built. We never intended to build a car. We went to look at this Citroen Saxo, which was at Blackpool, just beside the sea. And the guy was stripping it and he was about to scrap it. And Dad was like, no, the chassis is too good. We'll have the full chassis. And yeah, we ended up building it as a brand new car. And I had my maiden win in that car and a few good, strong results over the year. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
That was Saxos.
So let's just go back a bit. You mentioned the ARDS test.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for somebody who's not aware of what that is, can you just explain what the ARDS test is for us?
Yeah, so ARDS stands for Association of Racing Drivers School. So you go to a certain track, whichever you may choose. So Anglesey, Croft, MSV, tracks, anything like that. And they host them. And you do a written exam, which is basically a multi-choice question bit, which is basically, it asks you what would you do if you dropped your helmet, for example? What would you do if someone had annoyed you out on track? Them kinds of questions. And then there's I can't even remember how many flags there are, which is terrible of me, but you've then got to write down what all the flags are. So waving yellow, single waving yellow, double waving yellow, all of them. And you have to get 100% on that to pass. You then go out onto circuit, and your instructor will do basically an example lap, just to show you where it's not a speed test. Like, you could literally go as slow as you liked. Obviously, you've got to be somewhat quick, but it's not about how quick you are. It's about being in control of the car. And they just examine you, make sure that you can stop, brake, you know where the gears are. You're not stupid, like you're not going to go flat out into turn one, which is a hairpin kind of thing. So it's just making sure that you understand the fundamentals of it, so you're safe to go out on a track on your own. And once you've passed that test, you then achieve your race license.
So there's a very similar license for rallying as well. So whichever discipline you're after or that takes your fancy, there is a starting point. So I think the best way to find out about that would be the UK Motorsport website. Which will bob up as well. You got to the point where you were building the car then. At this point, you've still got no sponsors, have you? At this early point? Yeah,
so it was literally just sort of dad funding it. We had one sponsor at the time, which was £500 for the year, which obviously a season of Saxos is, well, I think back then it was maybe about 25k. Yeah. So £500 in the grand scheme of things didn't really touch a lot.
It's not going to cover a lot.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the first sponsor that I had and all we had.
Wow. And it's such a tough thing to try and do. I mean, even if you're the most talented driver in the world, it all boils down to the money. And that's where the sponsors really do come in. And it's a partnership, isn't it? Sponsorship. Yeah. It's not just give me lots of money and I'm going to go racing with it. It is a two-way street.
Yeah, it has to be mutually beneficial. That's the thing with sponsorship. Like, you can't just take it for granted, because it's all good and well having a sponsor that pays for a season. But if you don't look after them and give them a return on investment, they're never going to put any money in the year after, and you're just going to be basically chasing your tail every year. I mean, it is the case year on year that I am doing that, but it's not for not looking after the sponsors. It's just purely down to like the current climate. It's so hard in business right now that you have to really look after the ones that can afford to put money in.
Absolutely, and as you should do. But it's a good thing for people to bear in mind if they are looking for their own sponsors or wanting to get into it. It's very easy to fall down the rabbit hole of just finding the money and forgetting about the other side of it. So the Saloon Car Championship then, what was your biggest success in that?
I think it was not kill. We was really, really quick in free practice, very fast in qualifying. I think we qualified P5 overall, which was sort of an overall best for me. I really, really enjoyed the sessions, and it was actually a wet day, which, funnily enough, most drivers don't like the wet, and I just sort of clicked in the wet. It was just, I really enjoyed how the car felt underneath me, and we just had something special with the car set up in the wet. The dry, we tend to struggle. But we really did click in the wet. And we finished P1 on the road in race one, which was on the anti-clockwise version, actually, of Not Kill. They don't run it often.
No.
But it's such a fantastic layout. Like, when you drop down the hill, it's so blind. But yeah, we walked that. We won it by a couple of seconds. So that was great.
Couple of seconds, that's huge.
Yeah, so, and like I say, that was my first ever win. We'd always sort of been mid-pack, but something up there just clicked. I think we just got the setup absolutely bang on. Obviously, my head was fully focused in the game. It was my favourite track conditions. It just sort of all came together for us that weekend.
So do you like it dancing around a little bit underneath you then?
Yeah, but I think that's come from ovals, because you're being hit all the time, so you're constantly sideways, you're constantly correcting it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just something that I've naturally taken with me all the way through my career, is that I like it to feel quite loose. Not to a point where you're sort of fighting it, but just so I can feel it moving underneath me.
Is that because it helps with turning? So if you've got a slightly looser back end, you can use it to sort of help turn.
Yeah, it helps you turn, and I just think you just got a better feel for the car, like you know what it's doing. Yeah. When you've got a really safe setup, like it just feels like the rear's just following you. Whereas I like to just be reminded that the rear is actually there.
Yeah. I must admit, it's one thing that has struck me for a number of years about the British Touring Car Championship, actually, and just how bloody stiff those cars are.
Yeah.
Even it seems like even the slightest touch of a curb and they're up on two wheels, they're that stiff. And it amazes me how quick those cars are being that stiff. It just seems to me like if it was just a little bit more supple, a little bit more forgiving, it'd be able to ride them a little bit better and maybe a bit faster. Clearly, I'm not an engineer, so there's obviously speed in the way they set it up, but it does amaze me. So 2022 then, let's move forward.
2022 was one of those years where I didn't have the budget. It was a gap year for me. So we completely ran out of budget just purely because we had to take a step up. And Dad basically sat down with me and had that conversation of, look, I can't fund this for you anymore. You're going to have to go out there and find sponsors. So
okay,
we took the decision to take the year out. Now, obviously, me being me, didn't want to just quite do that. So off I went and bought an F2 stock car to go back to the Grassroots. Because I thought, well, I see, a stock car I can pick up. Well, I bought the stock car that I had for £3,500 out of my own money.
Yeah.
And I said to Dad, well, £3,500 and 50 quid of fuel every week is a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to find £60,000 to go circuit racing.
Wow.
So I bought my own car. Went back to the ovals racing F2. So it was my first experience in rear-wheel drive. So, yeah, that was limited slip diff. It was just a whole different principle. Full contact and a lot of hefty hits. It did have quite a big impact sort of mid-year. We had a couple of wins, which was good. Basically, considering the car that I had compared to a lot of the others, it was a very, very entry-level car because I bought it myself. Didn't have the money to just go and splash 20 grand on a singing and dancing car. So
yeah,
I was up against it. But yeah, like I say, we had a couple of wins, a few really, really big hits. I did hurt myself quite a lot in that car. But that is stock cars through and through, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's rough. I think many years ago, somebody I know, a family member, used to do F1 stock cars. And back then, I think they were running the 2-litre Ford engine that used to be in Escorts and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what.
We had that in the F2. So F2 ran the 2-litre Pinto, Z-Tex, Duratex, and then F1 runs the V8 Chevys.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
A hell of a lot more, and I can definitely vouch for that one.
Yeah. What a noise as well, though. What is there? Is that 15, 20 cars running around at a time?
Yes, I think you can actually have 32 on a grid at a time, which is it's just stupid. I mean, I say it's stupid, but I've done it myself.
It's stupid in a good way, though, isn't it? Yeah. It's something you're going to enjoy. That, you could just imagine the thunder of that. It's just would be amazing.
Yeah.
I challenge anybody to go to something like that and not come out a fan. Absolutely. So it's probably a familiar story because there's such a big gap between grassroots level and anything remotely progression-wise, getting up into the upper levels. And as I think everybody probably already knows at this point, there's a massive jump in funding required to be able to do that, as you've already touched on. So 2022 was let's say a foundation year, a building year for what was to come. At that point, then, you spent 2022 going around trying to work on getting new sponsors. Mm-hmm. How did you go about that then? Because I'm assuming you didn't have a great deal of experience. And for somebody who's never done that before, what's the best approach for that?
Literally left school the year before, so sort of very young, still probably quite immature in a way. Right. Like literally fresh out of school, straight into college. It's that sort of like teenage year where you want to go out, you want to go and do things. And so the process for me was, I had a goal in mind and I was determined that I was going to achieve it. Like, I didn't want my career to end there. I knew there was potential. I'd seen there was potential and I thought, I can do this. If I just put get my head in the game and work on it, I'll be able to get there. Let's not mess about. So I did just that. I set up a Gmail account, which, most people have as a generic account. And I just started basically going through local companies, based sort of Manchester, Leeds, all them kind of areas, just sort of northwest based, and just reaching out to them, basically explaining who I was, what I wanted to do, why I was in the position that I was in, what funding would mean to me, what championships I was looking at doing, and basically asking if they would be interested in any kind of support. And we had a fairly good uptake, to say the least. I think business was quite a lot easier then. I know it was difficult post-COVID, but I think it was definitely easier to bring sponsors on board. And we brought a couple on, which then meant that we had the budget to take the next step, which happened to be minis. Not by choice, actually, funny enough. We was actually planning to go and do Ginetta GT5, because I love the stock car so much, with as we was talking about, rear wheel drive and the oversteer and having a feel for the rear of the car. It was something special that I really enjoyed. And I said to Dad, I really want to do something that's rear wheel drive. Ginetta ticked those boxes because it was on the TOCA package. It was expensive, like talking £60,000 as bare minimum. And just as we was about to buy a car, the Ginetta Championship did an announcement that they were leaving TOCA. Oh. And this was literally a week before we was due to go and look at a car and purchase one. So that sort of put a bit of a spanner in the works, because it was like, well, as much as Ginetta are now going on to the British GT package, that's not exactly where I want to be, because where I want to get to first is British touring cars, not British GT.
Okay.
So I wanted to stay TOCA, which then meant that the only championship that I could do was Mini Challenge, which is why we then ended up in Mini Challenge Trophy. But
it was more the BTCC touring car championship.
Yeah, I've always sort of felt that the sprint side of racing is more of my forte. I'm the sort of person that, like, I'd rather just get it done with. I'm not really interested in sitting around driving a car for an hour. I just want to go and do a 15-minute sort of all guns blazing and then get out and chill, then drive around for an hour thinking, oh, let's make this a safe move. Like, that just doesn't appeal to me. It probably will in 10 years' time. But
I don't know. I don't know so much. Not with Colin Turkington and Jason Plato and the likes of them. They're still around, aren't they? So, okay. So we're in the TOCA package, which is an amazing package anyway, all on its own, even if you're just a spectator. And you've got into the minis then. At this point, you've bought a mini, have you? Then you've gone from the Ginetta to a mini.
Yeah, so we bought a mini. Just by chance, really. We was looking at what we could go and do, and I'd just seen one of the guys had done an announcement post to say that it was moving on, and I just literally messaged him. It was Charlie Mann at the time, and said, "I've seen you put an announcement out. Are your cars coming up for sale by any chance?" Simply because I knew they were quick, and I thought, well, sometimes it's easier to go to someone like that that's run as a privateer than go to a team, because you're probably more likely to get a little bit more information and a little bit more support.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, they're coming up for sale. I'll send you the information. And he had two, it happened to be. And he sent the images over, give us obviously first refusal because I'd asked. And he had one that was brand new, and he had his car that he'd just raced. Now, like I say, it was my sort of entry back into circuit racing, so the budget was still tight. So we had to go with the used car. We just didn't quite have the funds to purchase the new one. However, it was a great car, and that was where it all started then.
Was that a championship winning car at that point?
No, but he'd done very well. He had a lot of wins in it. It was a top 5 car. So
I mean, you're not talking bottom of the ladder area. You still bought a really good car. So how did the first year of minis go for you?
So it was strong. It was really strong, actually. We did, I think, maybe 3 pre-season tests just to understand the car and learn a little bit about it. I'd never actually driven on brand new cold slicks. So I remember the first time I went out on brand new cold slicks at Alton Park. I probably shouldn't say this, but I shoved it in a barrier on a test day.
Happens.
Literally lap 1, just because I didn't understand the principle of how to warm a tyre. But like the team said, it's better for me to do it on a test day and learn from my mistake. I've never done it since, But I learned from that massively, and I thought, what a bloody idiot.
Yeah.
Blooming red flag for that. So yeah, that was a good experience. And then, like I say, the season went really strong. Round one, surprisingly, we was in the top 10 all meeting, which was amazing to me, to be honest. Like, I expected to go into it as a full privateer, to be sort of seen as a bit of an underdog, really struggle with it because we was racing against Accelerate, Napa, Performance Tech, Graves, all of these people that have won the championship. So I thought, you know, they're going to have one up on us. They're going to know what to do.
Yeah.
But no, we was quick from the get-go. Like I say, we was in the top 10 pretty much all year. We had a couple of, I think maybe 1 or 2 top 5 results. So it was a strong debut year. Don't get me wrong. We had a couple of minor offs. There was a couple of incidents which were my fault, purely just simply down to learning the car. And I'd never driven with power steering. I'd never sort of driven at that level. So it was to be expected that I was going to make a few mistakes along the way. But yeah, no, we finished strong, a few mistakes along the way, and then took it all into the next year.
So that just goes to show, yeah, money is a big factor in motorsport. We know that, but so's drive skill. Yeah. And to go into your first season and go from putting it into a barrier on testing to a top 5, that's huge progression. Yeah. And that's just down to learning the car. You obviously have the talent there. So it's down to car learning. And especially, as you say, it's a very different machine. It's a very different animal to what you'd been used to. So clearly that's just the route that you had to take in order to get there. And these big players aren't small, you know, Accelerate, big team with lots of budget and lots of experience behind them. So to get that is a massive achievement. How have you gone from your first event to then building upon that in the last couple of years?
So it's definitely been a roller coaster, to say the least. The second year we did the championship, we thought, okay, you know, we can have a good, strong go at this. It's going to be a good year. We learned a lot in the first year. And year 2 was one of those years in motorsport where it was just like anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. And it wasn't down to driver fault because I was driving as best I could. We just seemed to end up on the wrong place of the track at the wrong time every time. And I think it was just purely down to the fact that we struggled to qualify because we was running as a privateer. So realistically, my talent levels were more sort of top 5 mixing. However, you need a toe in qualifying for the minis. We didn't have that. So I was constantly qualifying like P15, P14. And it meant that I was quite a bit quicker, and I knew I was quite a bit quicker, but I just kept getting tangled up, and it didn't matter how hard I tried. We got caught up, and then I had a round where I fell really ill and I missed the full race weekend. So that was 3 scores out the bag, like just gone. Yeah. So it was really tough. And then the last round of 2024, we built a new car over 2 weeks. Simply just because we bought a scrap mini challenge car that needed reshelling, and we was like, okay, we'll reshell it and we'll sell it, make a little bit of money on it. And then we decided 2 weeks before the season, no, let's reshell it and race it. Like, we've got nothing to lose. We've had a terrible year. We're not in the fight for anything. We're not even going to get like sort of into the top 10 realistically. So let's just do it. And honestly, it was the best decision we ever made to rush build that car, because we went out in free practice on the Friday and we was massively quick. Like, I'm talking, people were putting stopwatches on us thinking like, where the hell has this pace come from? Got to qualified P4. And it was just like, it just clicked in my head, and it was like a massive confidence thing, because I was like, I kid you not, team, like I have driven no different to what I have driven all year, but something in that other car clearly wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
And we got in that new car, like I say, no toe, straight to P4. And it was like, okay, you know what? That was without a toe. We can win here. Like, we can really do well. Race 1, we finished P5. I made a little mistake, which was on me. I hung it around the outside and it didn't work out for me. I ended up letting a full train of cars pass because I just physically couldn't get back in. which is the nature of mini racing. It is literally a train. And yeah, that one mistake just cost me what probably could have been an overall win.
To be fair, though, I mean, if you'd have pulled it off, it could have ended up as a lead.
Yeah, I mean, it was
worth a shot.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, the team were like, what did you do that for? Like, why did you go on the outside? And I was like, well, I thought it would work because I'd tried everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the first round in that car was really good, and it sort of set the tone then, because we sat back over winter and we thought, right, the aim for 2025 was to actually go into JCW. And we was like, do you know what? Considering how quick we were at the last round in that car, why don't we have a proper go at it now? Like, you know, we found something that works. We were quick. We were top 5. People had their eyes on us. We had all the teams asking, you know, if I'd like to be part of the team for the next year. So it sort of sparked an interest. I was like, you know what? Let's have it. Let's have a proper go at this now. And I then got on the phone to Daniel Robon, who's been my coach. Well, he coached me through 2024, and then 2025. I was like, right, we're going to win this, Dan. Like, this is the year for it.
Yeah.
And we qualified in the top 5 every single round, which was fantastic because we still raced as a privateer. We had some really strong results. We was on the podium first round. I was really ill on the first round. I literally got out of bed, got into the car, qualified, went back to bed, got out of bed, race on, back to bed. Like, I was that ill. But we finished on the podium. We started on the front row. So it was fantastic. It was like, sort of, we're here now. We can do this. And yeah, it followed on like that throughout the season. Round 2, we qualified P2. I parked it up because I said, right, we've got limited tyres for this weekend. Let's save the tyres. Like, no one's going to go any quicker than that. I know they're not. And so we sat there till the end of the qualifying. And then the last 5 minutes, I said to Dad, push me out. Let me just see because I think it was like 0.024 that I needed to put it on pole. Yeah. I was like, push me out. I can go and do this now. The track's warm. I'm going to go sit in a tow and I'll go and stick it on pole for us. And went into turn 1. Nothing stupid. Turned in and it was like the delta was up by 1/10 and I was like, perfect. Just coming up the hill and the rear trailing arm snapped in half. The rear wheel flipped up under the car, up through the boot lid, flipped the car basically on its roof all the way around and off into the barriers over there.
Oh,
and I was like, so obviously the reds got thrown straight away. Obviously my car's in pieces. All the boot floor had been ripped out of it. I had a wheel in the middle of the track. There's actually a picture of it, which I'll send to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I cannot believe it. In hindsight, though, imagine if that had have happened in a race.
Yeah.
Like, that was behind a full train of cars. So luckily no one got caught up in it. I was perfectly fine. And yeah, everyone then got together. We rebuilt the car. I think we had 2 hours to get the car going again for race 1. And I was like, guys, we've got to get this car back out. Like, we can't lose. If I don't go out, I'm starting at the back of the grid for the rest of the weekend. We have to do something. And honestly, it was such a special weekend in motorsport because everyone came together. I'm talking Westbourne Motorsport. We had Accelerate. We had Napa. We had Manpower, Graves. We must have had 20 people around the car working on it. They called the grid. Everyone had gone to the grid and I was sat in the car while all the cars were going around on the formation lap and I'm there bleeding the brakes up. We managed to get up and I started from the pit lane. And I thought, right, this is going to be terrible. Like, the car's not tracked. The steering wheel's like this. It's driving like a donkey. It's going to be awful. But I was like, we'll just give it a go. Like, we're out. It's fine. So obviously we didn't get to start front row where we should have been. And there was a new kid at the back who unfortunately stalled on the grid. And I had to wait for him to get going. So obviously everyone else had gone and this kid's, I'm like, oh, you're joking me.
Oh.
So, but to be fair to the team, we got it out. It did the full race and we made 5 places up.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then that put a back foot on that whole weekend. The rest of the year we were top 6. And then the engine blew up at Silverstone, which is the one track you need it at.
It's a power circuit, yeah.
So we ended up putting a spare motor in that was no good at all. We qualified second to last. And you sort of look at the results and I was just like, it's kind of really heartbreaking because I was like, it was special to me that I could say I qualified top 5 all year. And it was something completely out of my control as to why the engine had blown up. So yes, and then we ended up P16. I don't think we even got into the top 15 all weekend. And then there was a big crash in race 3, which involved a fellow competitor who was a good friend of mine, who unfortunately ended up being taken to hospital with a lot of injuries. So
are they all right now?
Yeah, he's okay now, which is good. It's Gabe.
Yeah.
But I sort of sat back and I thought maybe that happened for a reason, because Gabe and I had qualified together all year. So as much as he was Accelerate and I was a privateer, he didn't really have anyone quick and I was on my own.
Yeah.
So we'd worked together all year. So had I had a good engine, we'd qualified together all year within like 0.002 of each other.
God.
So had I had a good engine, would it have been me?
Maybe.
Will never be answered, but yeah. And then the last round, we stuck it on pole. So it was just sort of like, I went into the weekend thinking, we've had a real bad round at Silverstone. Like, I'm not letting this like finish the season. We're still in a chance for the title. As much as Silverstone really put us out of it because of that, we still have a chance. So yeah, stuck it on pole, which was great. And then, finished P2 in race 1. And then race 2, I can't remember what happened, but something happened on track. And then race 3, it was like, okay, we can go for this now. We're back at the front. And we literally was on the road to checking out. Like, we were so quick. And we got completely wiped out at Druids. Like, this guy must have come from probably, I'm talking 5 car lengths back, as I'm halfway around Druids. And it was straight up the grass into the driver's door. Hit the driver's wheel, steering wheel was like that, car was driving awfully, and I'm just like, oh, you are joking me.
I think I remember seeing that on the TV.
Yeah, so
it was horrible.
So that was frustrating, but we managed to keep going. And then, bearing in mind the steering wheel's like 90 degrees out, we still finished P5 overall, and then got promoted to P4. So we was very, very quick last year. But it just kind of shows, from year 1, doing minis with no experience, having the off, a few top 5s, to having a real bad year in year 2, to this year, we lost a championship purely down to bad luck, not to driving. So, it just sort of shows my development from a driver, really.
Sure, and the ebb and flow of motorsport is basically the story of motorsport, isn't it? I mean, it's very defining. When something as big as that happens and you get your boot floor ripped out, when the whole paddock chips in to help out, that. If there's anything to define what motorsport is, it's that. It's true sportspersonship all the way through. And as tough as it is and as hard as you fight, that's such a common story. And it's lovely to hear that even the big boys and girls joined in to help out, especially after what was almost, dare I say it, a dead cert. Did you say a couple of tenths off or a couple of hundredths off, Paul?
0.024.
Thousands, thousands off.
Absolutely nothing.
So, heartbreaking.
I think in a sense it sort of gave me a fire in my belly, because I was like, well, the worst has happened now, so we're going to make the best of a bad situation.
It's really set you in a really good place going forwards then into 2026. Now, what are your key takeaways from your career, generally speaking?
I think key takeaways are just sort of be brave and go and do it. I've sort of been in a position where I've gone through, obviously, the racing side of it, the crashing, the winning, to being an engineer, to driving the trucks. Like, just sort of go and do it, no matter what element of motorsport it is. Just sort of go and do it. Like, it's such a welcoming sport. Everyone there wants you to be there. So it's a great place to build friendships, to build, anything like that. And it gets you out the house. So just go and do it.
Definitely. And the whole of motorsport, even it's not even a discipline thing. It's just the whole of motorsport is a big family. Mm-hmm. And if you're there to race and you do well, you're celebrated. And if you don't do well, you're supported. Yeah. And it doesn't matter And I love that. I mean, I'm sure there are instances where that doesn't always happen. I mean, have you ever experienced anything negative because you've been a woman in motorsport?
Not particularly, probably, but I don't really pay that much attention, so I don't really know.
Good way to deal with it, I think. But so what has been your personal perspective on your journey in motorsport? How have you found it?
I just find it rewarding, I think is the best way to say it. Yeah, just being that minority and doing well and being able to prove that girls can win. It's just rewarding.
Do you feel like a minority?
I do.
Are you aware of that?
There's such a small amount of us. However, like you say, you're very supported. And, it's often the people that are going to put you down or pass comments are the people who are sat at home behind a keyboard with nothing better to do. So, yeah. Yeah.
I quite often find myself thinking, if you think you can do better, get yourself in a car and prove it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of the time, though. I don't really see a huge amount of keyboard warriorship in the lower end of things. It's usually F1. I see a lot of that. What sort of technical ability do you need for motorsport to drive in the cars? Is it a necessity? Do you need to know anything?
You don't need to know anything. It's advantageous for you to know. But yeah, like I say, if you have a mechanical understanding and a technical understanding of the key phrasings and how you want a car to feel and different sort of driving styles, of course it's advantageous. However, you're not necessarily going to do bad for not knowing.
Yeah. And would you advise people getting into the sport to at least get the basics down?
Yes. Yeah, I think just understanding what the difference between a cold tyre and a hot tyre is crucial. Understanding sort of soft and damp settings is crucial. Everything else doesn't really matter.
Because that helps with lap time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a relationship between you as a driver and your engineer, even if your engineer happens to be your dad or your brother or whoever it happens to be, or sister for that matter.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a point of that because there are quite a lot of female mechanics as well. So whoever, your engineer happens to be, it's being able to communicate effectively with them so that they know what's going on in the car as much as anything, and they can help you develop.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So do you have any lasting overall pieces of advice for somebody wanting to get into motorsport?
No, just like I say, take the leap, go and do it.
Just have a go. Have a go. That's awesome. Thanks, Ashley. You are obviously our third presenter, and I know that by the sounds of it, you've got a massive year coming in 26. So you'll be joining us as and when you can, is that right?
Yes, I will be. So yeah, as and when I can be, I'll be hosting, co-hosting, whatever that may be. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully giving us a bit of a first-hand perspective. Because it's all very well me and Gary just, giving our opinions, but to have somebody that's got first-hand experience, I think hopefully should help matters with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's brilliant. Well, we'll speak soon, Ashley, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Drew. It's a pleasure.